speaking. This is another GMP Detox session. Today we talk about project management in combination to validation planning, GMP or GXP compliance, and how that fits together. Let me start with that. I always try to map the validation plan at the start with a project plan. And I was told today that it's very typical for consultants to define the things very clearly. It was not in a positive meaning, but I would confirm that to be precise in language, because basically that's the key. Norming, forming, storming. And first think about what you do, and then you can perform better. I'm sharing my screen for that hopefully short session. So basically we start with the requirements that you must write a validation plan. You just see here the current version of ISPE GAMP 5, Appendix M1. There are 4 different appendices, and in Appendix M1 for management, you will find requirements or definitions how to write a validation plan, what activities are required, how they will be performed, and who is responsible. Very important to have the resource assignments. What is the output or project deliverables? What are the requirements for acceptance? And compliance will be maintained to keep the system in a validated status. I think that's also very interesting. Sometimes this happens too late to write the validation plan. And, you know, as always, people say we follow GAMP 5, but in reality, sometimes they ignore it. So planning should commence as early as possible, ideally not later than during the development of the initial user requirements. So before you start to write the user requirement specifications, it would be very helpful or needed, required, basically mandatory, to have the validation plan. Again, I try to combine that with the project plan. And when it comes to project management, here you see a good ISP guidance document. It's not a GAMP guidance document, it's from the ISP. They have different categories. Project management for the pharmaceutical industry. It's a little bit older, but it's still valid. It's quite very well written. You also see here the table of contents. That looks very strange, but here you see different aspects for a phase to initiate a project, to plan a project, and to execute that. And before we go into detail here, I have here an overview. I have taken different websites which have the best figures and the best pictures. So if we talk about project management, and project management is essential for any validation project or validation activity. If you have a great project management approach, the things that you need for validation, you will get that for free out of the project management approach or from the deliverables. The opposite, it's very hard to validate a system if there is not good project management behind of that. Project management, not going in every single detail, but stage 1, how to initiate a project. From where do we have the idea to implement a LIMS system, an MES system, and so on. And usually we will talk today about 3 different project management documents. You create a project charter. A project charter is usually a one-pager, but where people say, yes, it's like a policy. This is what we want to do until whatever. And so that everybody is on the boat. In stage 2, the project planning, create a project plan. And we will later talk about the project plan, because in 80–90% of all cases, if I'm entering a project, whatever it is, Do you have a project plan? That will be my question. They show me something which is not the project plan. They will show me very often something that is created in stage 3, project execution. They show the project schedule, typically a Gantt diagram, you know, with that different bars and so on. That's not a project plan. Then we have stage 4. We are in the project phase, and somebody, usually the project manager, is updating on the basis of weekly project meetings, sure, fixed meetings, however you call that, to see if we have reached our tasks. So it's about task management, or some call it work breakdown structures, and so on. Okay, and finally, also very often forgotten, the project closure. So thanks Business Map here on your website for that input. As a project management standard, there are different ones. Prince 2, the Institute of Project Management. I like this one. It's called Project Roadmap from IPMA, International Project Management Association. The German part of that is GPM, German Project Management. It's an organization, and I love that. That's pretty cool. It describes how a project is running. It's called the Project Roadmap, in German, the Projekt Atlas, for example. And here, in very simple way, you see how a project should run, the planning, WBS, the working packages, timing, support with project management tools, whatever it is, Teams, Planner, MS Project. Just Google for that. The 10 best tools. Basically, they are all more or less good. So timing, configuration management. And what I like here, what these guys were doing, on the left, you see the hard facts, and on the right, the soft facts. So the soft skills that are required for team building, conflict management, negotiations, self-management. What is on priority C and B? Most of the people only have A plus, and A plus plus or whatever. And the creativity, leadership, communication, very important within the project, and different leadership styles, how you go through this one. So if you search still for a project management standard, maybe this roadmap, they offer quite a lot of more things. This is quite very easy, but they do it in an understandable way. That's essential. Anyhow, you also have this ISPE guidance document if you want to. So if I'm asking now people, I need to have a project plan. Do you have for that, for the SLIMS, for this AI project, sterilization project, whatever it is, do you have a project plan? And people look at me and say, yes, we have a project plan. It's a little bit like similar if I would ask someone, do you have a driving license? And then somebody would show me this. A beautiful car, wonderful. As a Swabian, I've taken a Mercedes Maybach for sure. But I have asked if you have a driving license. I have not asked if you have a car. And what the people often show here, that's has gone, sorry. Quick update, what's going on here? They show me typically a Gantt diagram. You see here also website, the 10 best project schedule applications, something like this. This is not a project plan. This is the project schedule. First, in the initial phase, you have a project charter, a one-pager. This is where we want to go. Then you create a project plan. It's very similar to a validation plan. That's the reason why I try to bring them together. And this here is a project schedule. And this is not a project plan. If you don't have a project plan and you define this one here as your project plan, you have not defined the scope of the project. You have not defined which persons must be are required for that project. You have not defined what is the goal, the target, of that project. You have not defined if you do weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, if you have a steering board, how often you do a presentation at the steering board level. Basically, you have no project governance if you don't have a project plan. This is only the execution. It's also very important, yes, but you know, you must go these logical steps in the initial phase, then the planning phase, and then the execution phase, right? So just to give you an example, this is, for example, a project charter. One page, I have searched for different examples, very simple examples. What is the problem or the issue? What needs to be solved by this project? What are the acceptance criteria? The aim is not to spend 2-3 millions, whatever, dollars, francs, Swiss francs, or euros, or something like this. What should be solved? What is our acceptance criteria? What is the purpose of the project? What are the related business cases? Are the people responsible for that processes? Are they informed, or just were they also involved to say we want to do that project? Do we have the resources for doing that? Very important. But a project charter could be one page and that's it. But it makes sense to have that. I have something else here, a project plan template. It's from an Australian national organ donation collaborative institute, whatever. It doesn't matter, it's just a template to give it a title. Maybe you also tell the people, how should we call that project? Should we call it whatever? Apollo. It makes sense to find a name who everybody's really get the feeling for that project. What is the aim? What is the background? What are the benefits? What are the objectives? And you go here more into detail. It's very, very close. I always combine the project plan with the validation plan. What is in scope of the project and what is not in scope of the project? If I implement an EDMS system and I would say this project will not include an electronic signature, oh, that's not a good decision. But at least if this is really the plan, I should write it down. I would not accept it, by the way. So what are the project deliverables? A list. This is very short here. That goes normally 2-3 pages if I do a project plan. What are the deliverables? User requirement specification, an audit report of the suppliers, quality management plans by the suppliers, risk assessment on functional level, on testing level, on the most important one, on process level, whatever. All the deliverables that must be created. You even can combine it with milestones or quality gates, something like this. What are the success criteria? The resources, so important. Do we have the people to that? Right. Assumptions. Here also, risk plan. Consider the risk early. Right. Work breakdown structure. Yes, we will have a project schedule later in a tool, whatever. What are the time frames, milestones, stakeholders? Who is the project sponsor? Who is the clinical leader? It's here now for clinical, or the head of production or study director or whatever. Project team members, the start date, and so on. This is basically a simple template of a project plan. You can even combine it with a project charter, but this is a project plan in writing. This here is the project schedule, and the project schedule is not the project plan. And that's very important. Again, if I start a project, I talk to people and say, hey, what is the where is your project plan, or do you have a project plan? Yes, here, look. And then I must say, no, this project schedule. Where do we have the definitions of escalation levels? What happens if we have a problem with a supplier, and so on? And all that must be written down in the project plan. So that's what I wanted to focus today on. Project management, super important. your entire validation project will go very well if you have a good project manager. They can also get certificates for that, or you get support from an entire project management office, or however it's called in the organization, and to bring together the validation stuff with project management. Again, we at pharma, or also in medical devices, we call it validation, but in other industries, they don't call it computer system validation, or we validate it according GAMP 5, but they apply good project management practices. And good project management practices is nothing else than validation. And in every standard that you will look into for project management, you will find something for quality assurance, or for computerized systems for testing. So there's always a compliance part in that. And basically that's validation. It's just good project, good IT, good engineering practices, and nothing else. But at least people must follow any kind of project management practices. So today I wanted to talk about, on the highest level here, in the initiation, project initiation phase, project starter. Stage 2, project plan. And this is a real document. In the project execution and in the project tracking or monitoring controlling part, you have the Gantt diagram. But the Gantt diagram, the project schedule, is not the project plan. I see too many projects failing in this, that people then think during the project execution, what are the risks? Who needs to be informed? And then you inform someone and say, I was never told about that project. So use the power of project planning and great project management. I'm a big supporter of great project management. Thank you so much. Have a great time. Bye-bye.